So we've been having this conversation about the connection between Trump and the broader ecosystem of Republican politics, not just the voters, but in fact the elites. And watch Fareed Zakaria. He's calling Donald Trump out, but very crucially, he's connecting it with the entire Republican Party. Let's take a listen.
But first, here's my take. A main cause of the rise of extremism in the world of Islam has been the cowardice of Muslim moderates who for decades chose not to condemn bad ideas and ugly rhetoric. Fearing that they'd be seen simply as ideological weaklings, they avoided confronting the cancer in plain sight. It is now clear that a similar dynamic has been at play in the world of conservatism. Mitt Romney should be congratulated for making a speech calling Donald Trump a phony and a fraud. But where was he when in 2012 Trump was pushing his nasty and utterly false campaign, casting doubt on President Obama's American citizenship?
Place of birth.
By Trump's side in Las Vegas, as E.J. Dionne reminds us in his book, Why the Right Went Wrong.
There are some things that you just can't imagine happening in your life. Having his endorsement is a delight. I'm so honored and pleased to have his endorsement.
And while he generally eschewed birtherism, Romney fed the fires later that year by joking, "No one's ever asked to see my birth certificate." There have always been radicals on both sides of the political spectrum. But what is different about the conservative movement is that since the 1990s, some of its most distinguished mainstream members have embraced the rhetoric and tactics of the extremes. A memo put out by Newt Gingrich's Political Action Committee that decade urged Republican candidates to use savage rhetoric against their Democratic opponents. Some of the recommended words were failure, pathetic, disgrace, and incompetent. In the last month, Donald Trump has called Mitt Romney a failed candidate, Jeb Bush pathetic, Lindsey Graham a disgrace, and President Obama totally incompetent. Perhaps he read the memo.
Yeah, so I think that that's quite important. And of course, we can also go back to the Willie Horton ads, which George Bush Sr. ran under the tutelage of Lee Atwater. And Lee Atwater said, basically, look, we can't use the N-word anymore. But everything else, you run the same kind of game. So this has been percolating and facilitated and built by the Republican Party. And they need to own it. In an ideal world, they would own it by saying, what have we done? This is a tremendous disaster and danger for the country. We apologize. We resign. We fall on our swords. We do something. But how they're actually going to own it is they're going to end up aligning behind and pushing for the election of a overt neo-fascist clown.